when I'm not reading a theology book or a theological book on some doctrine or great biblical truth, I also do love to surround myself with American history. And I was in a bookstore a week ago, 2 weeks ago, sometime like that, and I saw this volume here. This is John Adams by David McCullough. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I probably am. It was on the clearance rack, and I just thought, well, I don't know anything about that book. Come to find out, it's actually pretty popular. I don't know, but it was like $5, so I went ahead and I picked it up, and I read it in 2 days. I was off work for 2 days, and I just sat and read it, and it is absolutely phenomenal, and I wanted to review it. So this is a book that is 651 pages long, with an additional 100 pages of notes and an index at the end. Do love the index. I was able to go back and, or even as I was reading it, look and see, okay, well, I know this guy was in the general area around that general time. Is he in this biography, just out of curiosity? So I do love it when indexes are in the back of books. So let me give a little information about the author, David McCullough. I don't know. He was born on July 7th of 1933 and is, as of the making of this video, 88 years old. He is a two-time winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Sorry, I can't read for some reason. And the National Book Award, and a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the United States' highest civilian award, which is just super cool. And then let's see here. He also is married to Rosalie Barnes McCullough. I'm just going to stop saying that last name. Whom, interestingly enough, he met at the age of 17 years old in Pittsburgh, which is just really cool that at 88 years old they are still together. Very awesome there. And then I keep saying it, but I wrote these notes. I don't know why I keep saying that. They have 5 children and 19 grandchildren. And he is also a devoted artist. So let's go ahead and dive into the overall book review. I do apologize for all of my stuttering and mumbling over myself, but we'll just keep going. So when I first started reading this book, the moment that I opened it up and went to page 1 and just started it, I literally felt like I was there. Such good and powerful writing, such detail, and I don't even know where he got some of the information that he put in there. Where he would have gotten that kind of information. I guess from their journal entries and other notes and letters, and I don't know, just all kinds of stuff. He could tell you what temperature it was. And that's actually partially Jefferson too. He always wrote all of that kind of stuff in his diary. But it's really in-depth and detailed, and you really, from the moment you start, you feel like you're there. And so it's extremely in-depth. And the only thing I wish it had included was his childhood years, his early life. It doesn't include any of that. It starts you right on a road to Pennsylvania. It's cold and it's icy, and they can only go at an extremely slow pace. So it's not that what is here is absolutely fantastic. It's just that I feel like, and to be fair, it's already a massive volume, but I would have really enjoyed knowing what he was like as a child and not just what he was like as an adult. And that may be impossible to know. I'm not sure, but just as far as reading a biography, I do enjoy reading their childhood stories as well. And so yeah, let me read. So he's sectioned this off into 3 different parts, which the main parts are Revolution, Distant Shores, and Independence Forever. And so then he's divided that into 12 chapters. The Road to Philadelphia, True Blue, Colossus of Independence, Appointment to France unalterably determined. Abigail in Paris. London. Heir apparent. Old oak. Statesman. Rejoice evermore. And journey's end. So yeah, as you see, really nothing of his childhood, which is fine. This book is focused on the latter years of his life, but like I said, I would personally enjoy knowing what he was like as a child. So let's see here. Are there any better books on this topic? Now, I ask that question in every review, but the problem with this is there are so many different biographies or historical books based in the early American era. And so I don't really feel like it's fair to answer that question. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Another thing that I liked about it, of course, was when they were working on the Declaration of Independence. John Witherspoon, who I have also reviewed his works on this channel, he also popped up, and he is one of my favorites of that era. If you're just looking at government, politics, whatever, he was one of my favorites. So he's in there several times because he signed the Independence Declaration, and so that was really cool. So I'm not gonna is it the best? I'm just not gonna answer that question. There's no way to do that. You could live your entire life reading books based on that era and just never get through all of them. So I'm not gonna answer that. It's a great book. Do I recommend it? Absolutely. It's definitely worth the read. Obviously, with such a big book, it may take a while. I'm trying to convince my brother to read this one, but it's worth the read. It definitely is. And so now let me read some quotes that I have here from the book, if I may. And these are just a few things that stood out to me personally. This may mean nothing to anybody else. This relates to some religious things as well as his love for books. So the first quote I have here is, Adams instinctively disliked Bancroft, thought him a gossip, found his habitual mocking of Christianity offensive, thought him a dishonest, and rightly suspected him of using inside information to profit the London stock market. So here you see that Adams, and this is why one of the reasons I bought the book to begin with, I'm trying to grow my Christian American history type section. I have several biographies of Christian presidents and so on and so forth, but this was one that I didn't have. I didn't have anything on Adams, and so I picked it up. Now, I wasn't sure entirely, is he a Christian, or was he a Christian, I should say, but I wasn't quite sure on that, and I couldn't find anything that clarified it perfectly in my mind, and so I thought the biography might help me figure that out a little bit better. And so here you see him, being angry at someone's habitual mocking, he says, of Christianity, and he takes offense at that. So I took that as an encouragement on that journey of trying to figure out, is he actually Christian? And then later he says, he quotes Adams here in this quote, but Jefferson had earlier sent Adams a syllabus he had prepared on the merit of the doctrines of Jesus, and a discussion of religion had filled much of their correspondence. And I'm going to stop there. And since then, religion had filled much of their correspondence. And there again, you have a great sign that at least Adams is a Christian. They're talking about it, and they're, doing all of this. And he says, now Adams wrote to Jefferson, the love of God and his creation, delight, joy, triumph, exaltation in my own existence are my religion. Now there, I got, this might be a little bit too picky. Great stuff there. All of it's true. But I wrote in my margin, forget not his holiness. This is a vital part of true Christianity. Without his holiness, his love, creation, delight, joy, triumph, exaltation are nothing. He is a God of holy love, holy creation, pre-fall, holy delight, holy joy, holy triumph, and holy exaltation. It is also vital to remember his holy justice and holy wrath. Otherwise, this is good. And so I agree fully with what Adams was saying, but I think it's important to remember that it's not just God's creation, it's not just delight or joy or triumph or exaltation that are the religion. Our religion is based upon the Bible, and the Bible teaches us that God is holy, 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 and that he is holy in justice and holy in wrath and holy in righteousness. And those are our, God himself is our religion. It's not those things themselves. So that was a little shaky. I left the book still not entirely sure if he was a Christian. I'm willing to assume that he was, based on some things that he said, like the first quote that I shared. Otherwise, I'm not entirely sure. But now we get into some other quotes here. So I just read what I wrote in part of my margin, and this book is filled with writings like that I wrote in there as I was reading it. But nothing could compare quite to what Adams himself did in his one book, where David said, in this one book, Adams' marginal notes and comments ran to some 12,000 words. I sat there and I was like, I maybe, if you're generous, have 100 words, maybe 200 words in the book, in the margins. And I don't know how big that book would have been or how big the margins would have been. I have no clue how you could manage to fit 12,000 words into the margins of a book, into a margin of a book. But that's intense. But I do highly respect that and think that is just the coolest thing in the world. And continuing on with his love for books, and this I kind of used for my own justification here in my own buying of books, but it says, there were weeks when he was buying books every day, and in his first month in Paris, he could not buy them fast enough and ran up bills totaling nearly 800 francs. Now, I didn't do the math there, but I'm sure that is a lot of money based upon when that was. But nor was the book buying spree to end. The grand total of books he acquired in France was about 2,000. But he also bought books by the boxful for Washington, Franklin, and James Madison. So he's just buying hundreds and hundreds of books into the thousands range in France. That's just insane, again, but I love it. And then one more here, it says, Jefferson immediately commenced to collect anew. He could not live without books, he told Adams, who understood perfectly. They remain two of the greatest book lovers of their bookish generation. And they're, that's a great reminder. Everybody was reading, and even in this biography, he talks about how there are bookstores just everywhere. They're just all over the place, and you could pretty much go anywhere and just go into a bookstore and buy a whole bunch of books. And so there he hones in on that point again, this bookish generation. Adams' library numbered 3,200 volumes. People sent him books. Overwhelm me with books from all quarters, he wrote to Jefferson. Yet he wished he had 100,000. And again, my justification, this is all a joke because we're only justified through Christ. I know that. I'm making a joke. But he died wishing he had 100,000 books. And I shall die fulfilled. That's my goal. Again, that's a joke. But really great stuff there. Love that Adams and Jefferson both were great men of books, loved books, bought books, cherished books, saved books. And then I have one last quote here before I do close this review. And that is this. He had his library room where he slept now among his treasured books. On the table beside his reading chair were the latest novels of Walter Scott and James Fenimore Cooper, the sermons of Bishop Joseph Butler, along with Pascal's provincial letters. And I love that too. Like, he's literally sleeping in his library. which is fantastic. I love that. So one last thing I wanted to say, this isn't in my notes, but as I was rummaging back through the book to look for things to mention in this review, I found this page that I had taken notes on, and Adams died with some $100,000 in estate after he died, when they sold all the stuff and had the property and all that stuff, $100,000, which amounted to $2.7 million in today's money, which is quite amazing considering his just all-out spree for books and all of that. But yeah, he ended up with $2.7 million in his estate when he died. And Jefferson, on the other hand, poor Jefferson, he died with $100,000 of debt, which is equally unbelievable. $2.7 million of debt. That made me sick. But basically what had happened was he had bought he had invested in the lottery. He had just bought pretty much anything he wanted, was just kind of a crazy person as far as buying things. He would just go out and shop and buy whatever. I think the book called it, it worded it, caught his fancy. He bought whatever caught his fancy. And so yeah, he died with an immense amount of debt, whereas Adams died with a great sum of money. Well, I think that is all I have for today. I didn't mention that the materials of the book, which it's a hardback, I'm pretty sure it's glued and not sewn. They're rough cut pages on the front, which is really cool. You don't see a lot of modern books that way. And also, they're kind of thin pages. But again, when you're making such a large book, you kind of have to just do that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that is all. I do hope that this review was helpful to you, and if it was, please let me know in the comments down below. I would appreciate knowing that it was helpful. If you have any comments or questions that you don't want privately or publicly shown down below, you can feel free to reach out to me by my email or on my Twitter account. Either one of those will work fine with me. I do hope that you are having a wonderful week thus far. Pick up a book and read something. Glory be to God. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you again very soon, Lord willing. Bye.